This is Support is Sexy, episode 59, with Dr. Yaba Blay, creator of the new web series, Professional Black Girl. Welcome to the Support is Sexy podcast. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, producer, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I talk to women entrepreneurs who share their journeys and the true stories of their wins and their lessons, and give you insight and inspiration to take your business and your life to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to have you here. You know, it just would not be the same without you. Today, we are welcoming Dr. Yaba Blay. I'm such a fan of hers. She is the creator of the new web series, the very popular new web series, Professional Black Girl. But she's also the author of the book One Drop, Shifting the Lens on Race. She's also the creative force behind the social media movement, Pretty Period. And she has several degrees. All of them I've listed in the show notes. You have to read her history, her receipts, as we say. But what I really love about Yaba's work is that she is all about empowering, celebrating, finding the joy in everything that it is to be a Black woman, a Black girl. And this new series, Professional Black Girl, really illustrates that about her work and about her passion for her work and about that joy that's just part of the culture, being a Black girl. And it really is a celebration. So in this episode, we talked to Dr. Blay about her journey from her start growing up in New Orleans to where she is now as an academic and as a creative. She also talks about why she considers herself the anti-academic because she talks about why college may not be the move for everyone, or college or an advanced degree. We talk some about that and the discussions that are going on around whether or not people should go to college, take on debt, and all of those kinds of things. She also talks about how imagery plays an important role in how we see ourselves, also focusing on doing the work, how to find balance between your work and the rest of your world, your other life, your personal life, etc. We talk about the truth about trolls because they're out there, they exist. We all have them in one way or another, online, sometimes offline. And she also talks about the importance of self-care and finding the joy, really focusing on the joy. So this is a really good episode. I know you're going to enjoy it. Please be sure to go to supportissexypodcast.com, search for Yaba Blay, and you will be able to see her show notes, all of the information there, and the links to the incredible work she's doing. I really want you guys to see that. But for now, without further ado, Dr. Yaba Blay. So Yaba, thank you so much for joining us on Support is Sexy today. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, I can hardly contain myself. So I have to ask you the first question that I ask everyone. When did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship or being a creative?
You know what's so funny is that I've had some form or another of a question posed to me that identifies me as a creative. And I don't know why. I still don't necessarily self-identify as a creative. I mean, I am creative, and I think it just has something to do with those hard lines that are drawn being trained in the academy. You know what I mean? So there have been particular, I think, roads mapped out or plans mapped out, and it took me graduating and actually working, I think, to carve out another road for myself. But I think for me, the creative process has always kind of been a part of my approach to the work, because for me, it's always important that whatever the analysis is, whatever the conversation is accessible to the average person. So like, I know that I'm not the average academic in the sense that I don't write for other academics. You know what I mean? I write for the average person. I write for Black women. I write for Black girls. And there's always been a visual kind of aspect to that to me in terms of trying to make the point accessible, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to get people to, I guess, to be able to relate to whatever the analysis is. And so I don't know if there's a moment when I became a creative or fell in love with being a creative. It just feels like it just was.
It's just a part of who you are.
Yeah.
And and as you mentioned, with having it be a part of your work, it's how you teach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm a visual learner and I'm a visual educator. So it's always about having some sort of visual something to share with folks.
Now, you're from New Orleans, right?
Born and raised in New Orleans. My family's from Ghana, so I'm first generation born here.
Now, what was Yaba like as a young girl?
Yaba was the same person. That's what anybody who's known me for most of my life or knew me from another part and sees me again, like I am the same person. So um, I'm a Sagittarius.
Uh-oh.
So we
Fire, right?
have lots of fire, lots of energy in a certain way, kind of ornery, and very honest in ways that people don't always appreciate.
I
So
know. My mother's a Sagittarius, so I know. I'm like, I didn't ask you all that. What I asked you was this.
you're gonna get it all.
Exactly.
So as a child, that got my mouth kept me in trouble. But I would say that I was a happy child. I was probably hyperactive in a lot of ways, a lot of energy, and definitely a girl. I've always been a girl. Like that's looked different at different ages in my life. I've never really had like a tomboy phase outside of like the early '90s gangsta B phase that we went through with the Countess boots. But other than that, I've always been a girl, and I really think that has a lot to do with being raised by a Ghanaian mother. In Ghana, we have some very, women are valued in ways that are hard to describe, primarily because we are a matrilineal society. And so it's really important for girls to be girls in a certain way. And that's performed, in lots of ways that we adorn ourselves. So, like, my ears were pierced when I was 2 days old, and I pierced my daughter's ears when she was 2 weeks old, and my granddaughter when she was like 4 weeks old. So, like, things like that are important to the extent, like, now, if I leave the house without earrings on, like something has to give.
You go back home from what I saw recently.
Yeah, I had to go back
It's
home.
part of the ensemble. Well, beyond the ensemble, it's part of who you are.
Yeah, so I'm consistent.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Now, who were some of your greatest influences growing up?
It's hard to say who my greatest influences are in terms of individual folks. I know now as an adult, clearly I was very much impacted by my father, who is a professor, a retired professor of sociology. So I grew up on HBCU campuses. I grew up in the academy in a certain way. So clearly that has had to have had some impact on me as much as I want to deny that. I think all of the women in my life and my family and my mother's circle of girlfriends have had an impact on me. And if I'm honest, I think Black culture, Black TV, probably has had I think Black culture and Black TV raised me in a certain way. Again, my parents being from Ghana, they came to this country for a particular reason, right? For the family to do better or, for me to have better opportunities. So they weren't really into, I think the simple aspects of being a Black girl, like whatever that means. It's like go to school, do well in school, we feed you, we clothe you, and you're fine, right? So all the other kind of nuances they weren't really into. So like I feel like, interestingly enough, I feel like I am as Black as I am because I've always been committed to like witnessing and experiencing Blackness.
And now you're committed to communicating that Blackness too.
I think so, yeah.
Interesting. So what kind of TV shows were the TV shows that informed your youth? Take us back.
I mean, come on. Three's Company, interestingly enough. But what am I thinking of with Raj and Dee?
What's happening?
Let me explain something to you. Dee is my idol.
She's your spirit animal.
What? Dee, and then was it Facts of Life with Tootie?
Yes.
Tootie. I love Tootie. I love Dee. I love Charlene when she was on Different Strokes, Janet Jackson, but I also loved her when she was Penny on Good Times.
Right.
Thelma and Willona, like again, like the women that I've been drawn to have always been the fly sisters on the show. And so whether it was Tootie's hair, I even love Dee's bobos.
Right.
Like my hair didn't do quite like that. I wanted my bobos, and a bang. Dee had bobos and a bang.
Tight bang.
Baby. So yes, black women and girls. I think I really found models for my Blackness. And for lack of a better word, my fire and my sass has come from Black women and girls on TV.
Interesting. Now tell us all the degrees you have. I literally started writing them down and my hands got tired. Okay, because it was about 7 of them. I was like, I'm just going to ask her to tell us what they are. You have you have the receipts, as we say.
Well, my undergraduate degree is a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. I have a master's in education and counseling psychology. I have a master's of arts in African American studies. I have a Ph.D. in African American studies, and I also have a graduate certificate in women and gender studies.
Wow. You're awesome. You're my idol. How many additional years of schooling was that post college for you?
Ooh,
Did you do it all at one time or did you spread it
no,
out
I
across
spread
time?
it out. I mean, I never intended to do all of this schoolwork. I never intended to be this person,
What drove you to do that?
life. So I got my bachelor's degree. I mean, I had my daughter the summer between my sophomore and junior years in college,
Mm-hmm.
and I graduated on time. So, like, again, Sag, chip on shoulder, like, you're not going to talk about me. You're not going to call me a teen mother. You're not going to say that my daughter changed anything for me. And I'm not going to have her think that her life changed anything for me. So I got something to prove. So,
Mm-hmm.
but then again, as a single mother, it's like, well, school's not feeding your baby, so you got to work, you know? So I worked for 2 years as a social worker and then very quickly realized that a liberal arts degree is not going to help you make enough money to raise a child as a single mother. So I went back to school.
Where were you at that time? Were you still in New Orleans or?
No, I had actually moved back I was in Maryland at the time.
Okay.
And then I left Maryland and went back to New Orleans. And did my master's in counseling psych and thought that, okay, now I have a master's, I can work, I can handle it. And I actually didn't really enjoy counseling that much. I thought I was good. I thought I was effective, but energetically, I needed to be doing more than be sitting in a chair for 8 hours talking to people about their emotions and their feelings and their struggles with that. So I went back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that process of committing to a PhD in African American Studies had a lot to do with the fact that, again, I was raised on college campuses, and I liked the environment and the work environment, and I figured that worked for me. I just had to figure out, what part of the academy I would be a part of. And so for me, thinking of a PhD, thinking of doing research, thinking of teaching for a lifetime, I thought that I could probably do that about Black people with ease. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I decided to do a PhD in African American Studies, because it was about what is the work that I'm going to be committed to for my life.
Right. I asked you that because I know there's a lot of, not debate isn't the word, discussion around kids who want to go back to school and deciding if they should go. Even some people now are just talking about this idea of should you go to college because of the amount, people are talking about the amount of debt that people have and that kind of thing. And so many kids now are getting out of school and don't have
Yeah.
jobs. And, so it's just a different time. But I just wanted to hear your journey of going to school and the decision making in doing it. But it sounds like
Yeah.
you had an idea at that time of what you want to accomplish in your work overall.
I mean, it was a step by step. It was a process. Like I said, I never knew this is who I was going to be
Right.
until I started to do it. You know what I mean? But interesting enough, to your point about, college and going back to school, like, I am an anti-academic academic.
Are
Like,
you?
oh God, I have lots of friends who will be like, oh, I want to do a PhD, and they'll come to me for advice. And I'm like, don't do it. And not just across the board as a flat out answer, but I think we have to be realistic to understand that the money that it takes to get these degrees is nowhere near aligned or matched with the money that you will make.
Right.
The jobs are few and far between, because that's what people love about the academy. Once you're in there, you're in there. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to leave. So you got folks who are retiring in their 80s, which is not leaving a lot of open positions for folks. And then also, I don't know. I wish I could say it and know that people would be okay, in the sense that, like, I wish we didn't have to go to college in a certain way. Not the way college is set up now. Because
Now.
sometimes I look at my students and they graduate and I question and they question, like, what does this piece of paper mean? What does it say that particularly for those of us in liberal arts,
Right.
right? So it's a challenge for me. I don't know that school is the answer for everyone.
Interesting. So what do you say to your friends, as you said, that you mentioned, if they say, okay, I'm thinking about a PhD, and you might say, all right, don't do it. Do you say, do this instead? Or do you just say, don't do it, think about something else?
It really depends on the person. There are people who want PhDs because they think they should be called doctor. And if you go in with that attitude, the academy will chew you up and spit you out easily. The academy, for me, grad school was the most unaffirming time in my life. I was in competition with everybody, my colleagues, my or my peers, as well as faculty members. Like, there is this air in the academy that you have to be the smartest one, or you have to be the one to come up with that original idea, or you have to give the best analysis. People are really thirsty and hungry for space and position in the academy. Mm-hmm. So if you just want 3 letters, they'll chew you up. You have to be committed to the work. You're not even committed to the discipline. You have to be committed to the work. So for me, the work that I do, I could have done had I gotten a Ph.D. in anthropology, sociology, psychology. I will always do this work. So I think it depends on the person. If they are committed to work and they recognize that they're not going to, like, I think people also think that, because of a lot of public intellectuals, that if you are a Ph.D., you're going to make a whole lot of money. People swear
that's the perception. You are rich. Aren't you rich?
I have lots of bountiful blessings.
Exactly. I
money
come
may
from a
not
space
always
of abundance.
be one of them.
Right. Someone I talked to recently, she was like, I had to get in the space of money is not my currency right now. It's just, it's other things. So
yeah, it's real.
Yeah. And like you said, seeing a lot of intellectuals, especially on television and that kind of thing, people have this perception of this is the way to go in order to have this certain kind of achievement. All right, that's interesting. I didn't know that you were an anti-academic. Very interesting. Now, you are also the leading voice on colorism and global skin politics, as your bio states, and I certainly agree. And many of the groundbreaking projects that you produce have reflected this in one way. One Drop, your book, which was fantastic, and Pretty Period, which would you consider it a platform celebrating women? What would you consider?
I mean, people have used different language to describe it. People have said, social media movement, a platform, a campaign, just a space, a visual space for me. I think it's about providing the space. Yeah.
Why is this a passion of yours? You sort of spoke to it a little bit, but just this idea of educating people and creating spaces in media that help shift the narrative, especially about Black women, which you are so passionate about.
Because I think it matters. I think for me, what's interesting, again, as an educator, I have had the experience of being in a classroom and leading students through a particular analysis, right? And watching the light bulbs go off. And because those light bulbs go off, seeing them able to think more critically about the totality of their lives. Like, those are things that matter more than what names you can regurgitate back, what date, who did what first. How does this impact your life? And so I was kind of late to the game in terms of social media and connecting social media to my work. I've always just used social media as my own kind of like outlet to clown with friends and keep up with folks. But recognizing how using social media, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, that the world is a classroom in a certain way. My followers, I don't want to say that they're students in the sense that I see myself as teaching, but I know that I am able somehow to get people to think critically about things in a very simple way. A lot of people say that, I'm not the average professor. Like, I'm not talking to people with all this thick and heavy language. They got to go look it up and figure out what's going on, that I just speak to the experience in a certain way. And so for me, it's really about, and I hate it because people have overused this phrase so much, but this notion of staying woke, Right. Being eyes open, thinking critically. Because what I know is that students are not taught to think. They are taught to memorize and regurgitate, which means they are non-thinkers in the world. Right. My goal is to create thinkers in this world.
And I think you do that, too, by being so plugged in, as you said, with what Black women are about or doing, or Black people in general are about and doing, and the experiences. Like, one thing I know you mentioned in I think it was the first episode of your latest project, which we're about to talk about, Professional Black Girl. We're doing a dance, everybody, because that's what Black girls do. No, but I know one of the things I love that you mentioned, you spotted this young girl, standing on it was either a mailbox or a mailbox, right? And I feel like when I saw the picture, I was like, I know where that corner is, in Bed-Stuy, because I'm in Bed-Stuy. And she was dancing, whatever. And then when she saw you about to take a picture, she struck a pose. And even in that moment, just knowing, one, to take a picture, and then the connection that you had with her in that moment, or seemingly from the picture, was just such an example of what I think you do and the things that you create for Black women. So tell everybody about Professional Black Girl.
Yeah, so thinking of that example, like, that was a genuine, what's so interesting to me about Professional Black Girl, it has not really been work. It's work now, because I got to get it together and share it with the world in a certain way. But like, that moment wasn't like, oh, I can use this for Professional Black Girl wasn't even a thing yet. Right. That's genuinely who I am. Like, I am the auntie that you probably don't want around your little girl. Right. Because when they start acting up, I'm the hype man. I'm like, yes, do that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I love seeing Black girls be free. There's so much conversation out here about who we are and who we aren't. Many mothers, out of concern and a natural anxiety, we dim our daughters' light by trying to tell them how to act and who they should be acting, like that for. And so when I see little Black girls free, I'm excited.
Right.
I'm rooting them on. Like, yes, that's right. Stand on the mailbox.
Right. Dance on the mailbox, because why not?
For me, because why not? You're not hurting nobody. Like, I'm the wrong person in that regard. So professional Black girl for me is just really a celebration of that, of our average, regular magnificence, because Black culture is everywhere. And I think we say that in a way that, I don't know, maybe we take advantage of our own culture in the sense that we get mad when we see other people claim it, but we not out here claiming it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what's so interesting, because on the one hand, it's like, okay, I'm thinking of Kylie Jenner, for example.
So was I, yeah.
So last couple of things that people have been upset about with her have been the bright red lace front wig that she had with the cornrows. Then there was a do-rag situation. She's walking around with a do-rag on. And then apparently she has an Adidas campaign where she looks like she's in an old school New York subway.
Oh, I didn't see that. I saw the other two.
Ciao. So anyway, we look at that, we get upset, like she, we say cultural appropriation, she's a culture vulture, but we're not repping those things because of anxiety of them being seen as stereotypical, right? So all of this anxiety about what other people think cause us to kind of stray away from our own culture, but then we get mad when other people jump up on it. So my thing is, like, in its simplest form, it's ours. Mm-hmm. Cornrows, beads, flat irons, like all of those things, they're ours. And we can't be afraid or ashamed to claim those things. So for me, professional Black girl, as opposed to calling somebody ratchet or hood, or extra in any kind of way, it's like, nah, she's a professional. She takes this thing seriously.
She takes it seriously. Yeah. That's what I got from the name of it. She takes it seriously.
Absolutely. And that's fine. As a Black girl, absolutely rock that, rep that.
Right. Now, what is the, have you been surprised by the response? Because it's been doing wonderfully on social media. I have shared it myself, and many have, and on YouTube. And how have you felt about the response? And also something that you mentioned, it seems like these things sort of start from a different place from you, not from the place of, oh, I'm going to create this and turn it into X.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an explanation for that. I think it might be part of my process, But I also think, similar to the work that I did as a grad student, for me, like, because this work is hard, and any woman who works for herself in any capacity knows that the work is hard. Mm-hmm. So if you don't love it and you're not committed to it, it's not going to be the thing that it says, all right, I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Right.
Right. Or I'm going to go without going to this place because I got to get this done. Or I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that this happens. Like, if you're not in love with that work, you're not going to be able to do it.
To sustain it.
Yeah. So the response to professional Black girl has been amazing. And it's been wonderful in ways that I hadn't expected, or I didn't expect. A lot of women really moved by that. I've gotten some emails, one from like a neuroscientist who thanked me because now she's like, yes, this is who I am. I'm all of these things that are genuine to me. But the minute people hear I'm a neuroscientist, I got to put on this hat or I got to dress this way to go here. And she's like, and that's exhausting. So thank you for the permission to just be myself. And I'm like, yes.
Wow. That's major.
Oh, yeah.
Because we spend so much time, as they say, the code switching thing of going back and forth. But then I think, to your point, what you mentioned earlier, some of us don't allow that other side to show that really is a part of us. We're just used to being the neuroscientist or the teacher or the whatever, and fitting into these sort of paradigms that have been created for us.
Right. So, and I think it's appropriate in terms of, like, there are times and spaces still for me. It's not to say that I'm this same person in every, venue. But for me, it's important that we show our authentic self to each other and to our girls. Like, I want the little girl on the mailbox to know that just because you on the mailbox and you out here wilding with your homegirl, that does not mean that you're going to be whatever it is everybody else tells you you're going to be.
Right. It doesn't make you a quote unquote bad girl.
Not at all.
I hate hearing that. Yeah.
And so if I can use my life as an example, like life is just that. It's life. It's process. You always have another opportunity to reinvent yourself. You always have another opportunity to do whatever you want. So what you're doing at 12 is not like a pipeline, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Exactly.
Necessarily to who you're going to be at 24. So because you're on top of the mailbox, you're not going to go to college. You're not going to be anything. It's absurd.
Right. It's a moment.
Yeah.
I think that's true. And I think it's important to create spaces too. I'm very big on acceptance. I think that's what a big part of it is too, being able to accept who you are, but then knowing for that girl, for example, that you in that moment were accepting her for what she was being in the moment.
Yes. And hyping her up and letting her know, like, that's my post too, girl.
Right. Exactly. Now, what do you, as someone who is so committed to women, girls, black girls in particular, what do you envision for your beautiful daughter and your granddaughter? What do you want for them?
I want them to be happy and I want them to be free. I want them to have permission to do the things that they want to do without fear of judgment. And for me, if you've got acceptance from me, mama, yaya, it don't matter. You
Right.
know, so I think it's really important. I've always been really committed, and it's been hard, trust me. Raising a girl child, a black girl child, is not easy. Mothers know that. But I've always been committed to us being friends, like in a genuine sense, no matter what. Like, you are my friend, you're my daughter, yes, but not in that kind of like respect me at all costs and everything that I say is right. It's like I also have always wanted to honor her humanity in hopes that she would free up because she can be whoever she needs to be in my presence. You know, and we can just be real about that. So it's a certain freedom that I hope to engender for them. My granddaughter's completely in it at
Yes.
2 years old
Right. She knows. She
and
gets it.
free. But yeah, I want them to find happy and I want them to have permission to be happy.
Do you feel like you've given yourself at this stage of your life and career permission to be happy and free?
I do.
Good.
I do. But I'm always giving myself permission to be happy and free, right? So it's not like an end all kind of
Right.
place to arrive at. It's a constant kind of conversation.
Constantly affirming yourself. I get it.
Absolutely.
I'm with
Yes.
you. I get
Yes.
it. Now, you're
Yes.
also producing the video series. Are you still working on this, Adventures at Beauty World? I know the social media things are hilarious. I can't get
Yes.
enough of them. I'll
Yes.
have links so everybody knows. I'll have a link on the show notes page so you can see all of the wonderful things that Dr. Blay is working on. But are you still working on that
Yeah.
about black hair culture?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still in the works. I actually was filming for Adventures at Beauty World when Professional Black Girl became a thing. Um, so yeah, it's still in the works. Still
Nice.
excited about that. Hopefully that'll be released next year.
Next year. So now you do that, all the things we talked about. You also are the, what is it, Dan Blue Endowed Chair of Political Science at North Carolina Central.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it all?
I don't.
I was just about to say, or do you do it all? Is it
I
this
don't.
perceived that you do it all? In what ways don't you do it all then? Do you delegate? How do you make it work?
I've become better about delegating and not delegating and here you do this, but like finding team, finding partnership, finding other sisters who support me, asking for help. I'm so much better about that now. But I'm also still Yaba. Like I just think I have this long standing idea that nobody's going to be committed to your work as you are. So I just accept that there's so much more that I'm going to have to do. But like, if I showed you my things to do list, you'd be like, girl, try over and just never mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, it's a lot. And so some things don't get done.
Right. But I
They
think,
just don't.
I mean, the whole premise of the show is asking for support is the big part of it, though. That's the big first step of letting people know, I need help with this, or this is what I'm working on. Where can figuring out where people can fit in.
Yeah, I can say from experience, the difference between me working on One Drop and me now working on, let's say, Professional Black Girl are like worlds apart. Because with One Drop, I didn't know how to ask for help. And so that stress and that grind literally drove me to the bed where I couldn't function for days, literally, like completely burnt out, overdid it, days without sleep, you know?
Right.
Whereas with Professional Black Girl, it's like, no, people appreciate the work, they're excited,
People
they've got
want to
time,
help.
and people want to help. So much better, still tired, but
Right.
not worked to the bone like that.
Very good. Now, what does your support network look like?
Homegirls. it's Black women, interestingly enough, for Professional Black Girl. The sister who's filming and editing is a former student at North Carolina Central. Working with her, one of my girlfriends, Sarita Gates, is one of the producers who's been very helpful in terms of making connections with community and making sure that everything is ready to roll in a particular way. Great for ideas. Just even being able to have folks that I can bounce ideas off of, or to say, nah, you don't want to do that. That sounds crazy.
Right.
I've also had another sister who's been a PR intern for me, and I've never even laid eyes on her. So it's like a mutual friend who connected us, and she's like, yeah, dope, I have time, I'll do that. So a handful of sisters that have really been helpful in that way.
I love that. Now, you posted something recently on your public page, this is nothing private, where you said, do the work will, or the quote said, do the work will always defend you. In what ways has your work, quote unquote, defended you?
Interestingly enough, I think in that regard, it's more so about, okay, so from an academics perspective, I think there are a lot of people, again, in social media who are attempting to do the public intellectual route, who are always kind of like throwing out their receipts, quote unquote receipts, or having to remind people of who they are, what the work it is that you do. I mean, if you engage with trolls, that's what happens. You always have to defend yourself. And my thing is like, I'm not explaining, you can Google me.
Right.
I'm not explaining that's energy. That's energy, and that energy is impactful, because I know for me, there was a time where I had lots of anxiety about writing for public spaces out of fear of those comments, anxiety around those comments. And at the end of the day, those people don't matter. There are people whose whole existence is around sitting at a keyboard all day and being nasty. Those people don't matter. So I don't have to defend myself to you. Look me up, read my book, read my articles, read my work. You know what I mean? So my thing to that quote was more so about reminding people, like, where's the focus? Are you focused on defending yourself, or are you focused on doing the work? Just do the work.
Right.
And you'll always have a defense.
And the work will speak for you. And like you said, there's so many people, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly now, that being a troll is their whole thing. It's how they become known. You see them on everybody's page, and then people respond. And once you respond to them, that's it. It's like they're in there and getting you worked up.
That's it.
That's their whole thing. Now, if there was one thing that someone could have told you about being an entrepreneur or being a creative that you wish you knew before you sort of went down this path, what would it be?
The thing that I struggle with, I think the most, is time management. I don't know that anybody has a solution for it, but I don't know. I think there's something valuable to be had, and I probably could still benefit from having a conversation with women about how they organize their time to do this work, because there are a lot of times where I feel like this work consumes me. And I don't know how other women have time for anything else. So, but I also know that maybe I overdo it, maybe my impatience gets the best of me. So it'd be dope to hear from other women. It's like how they kind of divvy out their life and their time around their work. Like, how much time does this take? Are you actually able to clock out, and enjoy your life differently? Because that's something that I struggle with.
Is that something that you feel like you want to move toward, just being able to sort of clock out and focus on other parts of your life? Because as you said, it can be all consuming.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, we're going to work on that for you. I always give myself little personal assignments in my head, like, okay, we're going to work on that. So what's next for you? What are you most excited about today?
I'm excited to see just where this new video work goes, from Professional Black Girl to Adventures at Beauty World, to just kind of see hopefully what doors that opens for me, because I am very much interested in content creation, storytelling still, and stuff that is, fun. I think we, deserve some hashtag Black joy. Yeah. So it's definitely a shift for me in a certain way. I mean, my work is very critical of white supremacy and the impact that white supremacy has on our lives, and I'm always going to do that work. But I also think I want to reflect back some, like, here are some things to be proud of in the very simplest ways, because they're trying to break us. They're trying to consistently for generations have us believe that we're worthless. So we have to do the work of reminding ourselves of our beauty. So that's the work I'm doing.
Let me ask you a question. It's something that I think about a lot with everything that's gone on recently, with the recent police shootings and killings, really. How do you in what way do you manage still doing the kind of work that you do that is about joy, really embracing joy and who you really are with some of the things that are going on now? And the reason I ask that is because I go through that with, say, for example, this show, which I put out 5 days a week, and it's about empowerment. And, and I try to tell myself, you know what? I'm coming from the space of I'm trying to put as much positive out in the world as I can. Because,
Right.
You can go to a march, you can do all of these things, and I've done all of those things. But what else? Just it's a personal, I don't know what else to do. That's the thing. You get to the point where you just feel beat down like, God, what? Okay, I'm going to try to be as positive as. So just someone being in that world and sort of being on both sides, but having work that in these ways focuses on joy. I just wonder how you navigate that as a Black woman.
I mean, it's hard, but it's purposeful. I mean, it is hard. There are moments because I'm active on social media every day. And there are moments where I'm like, I'm not going to post that. Like, stuff is just too raw right now. Nobody's trying to see this picture right now. And then there'll be a day where it's like, no, this is exactly the day you need to see this picture. I think we need to be reminded of our beauty and it's a balance. You know what I mean? Because if we only post about the dangers, and all of the kind of negative things that we're experiencing, not to say that we shouldn't, because we absolutely should, because that's about information sharing, but what's the balance? How else can we see ourselves? So it's hard. Like today, I had an interview this morning on NPR about the no makeup movement. We talk about the no makeup movement today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Given, in the last week, how many bodies?
In the past, just a couple days.
Just 1 week, yeah. So, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I still have work to do, though. So it's like part of it is about doing the work and you keeping yourself going in a certain way. But it doesn't mean that I'm just going to talk about no makeup today and I'm not going to acknowledge that some craziness is happening in our world. Like, it's work.
Mm-hmm. And I see more people, and I'm glad to see people talking more about this idea, too, that it's traumatizing on the people, of course, on the families and all the people directly affected. But for all of us constantly seeing this in feeds or whatever, it's something that we need to be aware of and making sure that we take care of ourselves during this time.
Absolutely.
Too.
And we also need to work on our kind of like community engagement. We need like some new rules for engagement, because I'm also noticing lately every time something happens, then there'll be somebody posting like, your silence is deafening, or you know what I mean? Like this notion that you have to be talking about this to be down or to be concerned. And like, sometimes there's just really nothing to say.
Right. Or you don't know what to say. I know I've gone through that of just, I don't know what to say. I don't want to just put a hashtag, just to put a hashtag. Right. All right. Thank you for sharing.
We have to take care of ourselves, moments.
So just a couple more questions and I'll let you go because I know you're busy. What, if you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
I would probably thank my Auntie Janet, who was the wife of a family friend. He was Ghanaian. She's African American. And every time that she would see me at any function, she would make a huge fuss over me and tell me how gorgeous my skin color was. And this is when I'm like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, little dark-skinned girl in New Orleans. And like, I just remember I loved Auntie Janet. Like, Auntie Janet would be like, what's your special cream? Tell me what the special cream is. I need some of this cream. Look at your skin. And I'd be like, I don't know. It's Vaseline.
Right.
You know? I'm a little kid, but she made me feel like my skin was beautiful, and I believed her.
Yeah, during a crucial time, too, 6
Absolutely.
or 7.
Absolutely.
See, I was getting the pretty for a dark-skinned girl thing during that. That's why I love pretty, period.
Yeah, I didn't get that until I was older. I didn't get pretty at all when I was younger. I didn't get that until I moved to the Northeast.
Oh, see. Oh. All right. So how can we support you? Tell us where to go, website, all the things. Like I said, I'll have links to everything, but tell people for those just listening.
So my website can connect you to all of my social media handles. My website is yabablay.com. And from there, you can find me on Twitter, where my handle is @Fiyawata, Fiyawata, which is the same handle on Instagram. And I also have a public Facebook page. So I'm active pretty much every day. Then there's my YouTube channel, which is Yaba Blay TV. And that's where you will find Professional Black Girl now through December 23rd. Every Friday there's a new episode. And hopefully in 2017, early in the year, you'll also find Adventures of Beauty World there.
Yes, you will. We're going to hold that intention for you, making it happen with balance, with balance. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited to have you
Yay.
on here. What's, before you go, a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners?
A parting piece of advice. I don't know. I'm big on happy right now. I'm big on joy. I'm big on, even if it's small, if it means watching a silly YouTube video or finding pictures online that make you happy, like be happy. Even if it's momentary, even if you go from smiling to crying, we still have to honor our experience and our right. It's really our birthright, right? To find happy in every single day.
Amen. Dr. Yaba Blay, thank you so much. Hold on
Thank
just one
you.
second. Sure. All right. Thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Support is Sexy podcast. And I do hope that you got some inspiration from it. And the challenge is for you to do at least one thing. Take one thing from the episode, at least one thing. You can always do more, but at least one thing that will help you move one step closer to your dream. Whether that's launching a business, writing a book, whatever that thing is that you want to do, take something from this episode and move one step closer. And what I'll also ask of you, if you can tell me what you think about the episodes, what we've been doing, what you want to hear, what you like, what you experience while you're listening, go over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let me know what's going on. What are you thinking? What are you feeling about the show? What else can I do to be of service to you, which is what this is all about, to be of support to you. That's our buzzword, right? You can also go to our website, supportissexypodcast.com. That's supportissexypodcast.com. Hear more episodes there. Also have a bunch of great videos, tons of information. It's where I'm going to be spending a lot of time, and it's where I love to connect with you. So again, thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate you and your support. And the most important thing I want you to remember is having it all does not mean doing it all alone. So now, go out there and create something sexy, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.